8:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight...
Police! What are you looking for? You're making a big mistake. He's only a kid.
Dad, I haven't done anything.
It's the new Netflix drama that everyone is talking about.
I'm going to start off with asking you.
Do you know a girl called Katie Leonard?
But is Adolescence demonising young white boys? And would Netflix have the bottle to do a series about illegal immigrants committing sex crimes? Also...
This is how not to slaughter animals, by Halal or any other rules.
Should Halal slaughterhouses be banned in Britain? And...
Would you live on 70 quid a week?
Absolutely not.
So why do you expect young people to?
We won't. We provide housing benefit as well, and we'll provide personal independence payments.
This is cash in their pocket. This is 70 quid cash a week.
So are the things I just mentioned to you. So are the things I just mentioned to you. That's how the benefit system works.
A Labour minister there slammed for a car crash heartless benefits interview, but...
And the second is to tell the Department of Work and Pensions that your mental health makes it hard to leave the house.
Look, we've got to be real. It seems so easy to get a car or benefits if you know how to game the system. Also... Police and courts are allowing hardened criminals to choose their own gender. Plus...
We cannot rebuild Western civilization. We cannot rebuild the United States of America or Europe by letting millions and millions of unvetted illegal migrants come into our country. It has to stop.
I've got some devastating figures that prove there is no economic case for mass immigration. On my panel tonight is the Director of Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood, landlord and activist Adam Brooks, and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. And, OK, all right, whose side are you on here?
How it feels to have it be out there.
It's gonna be great. You're a winner.
Oh, my God, when I'm talking, you're not talking.
Sorry.
No, when I'm talking, you're not talking.
Oh, gosh, get ready, Britain, here we go. I'll tell you who will never get their benefits cut. Illegal migrants. Next.
Patrick, thank you. The top stories. US Vice President J.D. Vance has blamed immigration for Britain stagnating. Speaking yesterday, he claimed the West got lazy by using cheap labour to substitute productivity.
If you look in nearly every country from Canada to the UK that imported large amounts of cheap labor, you've seen productivity stagnate. I don't think that's not a total happenstance. I think that the connection is very direct.
Addressing a group of tech chiefs in Washington, he added that the US has also been addicted to cheap labour during its 40 years of failed economic policy. Speaking about US President Donald Trump's recent tariffs, Vance claimed they were necessary to protect American jobs and industries from other nations. Elsewhere, Volodymyr Zelensky says he believes lasting peace can be achieved this year with the support of the US after a phone call with the US president. Donald Trump says much of the discussion was based on the call made yesterday with President Putin to align both Russia and Ukraine in terms of their requests and their needs. The Russian and US presidents agreed to a limited ceasefire on energy and infrastructure targets earlier this week, but airstrikes have continued as the Kremlin held off from accepting a 30-day truce backed by Washington and Ukraine. Zelensky said last night's drone attacks on Ukraine's infrastructure showed Russia is not ready to end the war. Zelensky asked for additional air defence missiles to protect Ukraine's civilians, and Mr. Trump replied by saying he'd work with him on this, but that they'd look particularly at what was available in Europe. Sir Keir Starmer has been directly challenged by Labour veteran Diane Abbott over the government's cuts to welfare, with the mother of the House telling him there was nothing moral about the plan. Her comments come after the Prime Minister said the rising cost of sickness and disability benefits is devastating for public finances and had wreaked a terrible human cost. Well, it comes after the Work and Pensions Secretary unveiled a crackdown on benefits yesterday aimed at saving £5 billion a year by 2030. She said the eligibility criteria for disability benefits will be narrowed in a bid to slash the money from the welfare bill. Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride spoke to GB News.
They've come to this very late. The reason why they fought shy of welfare reform has been, as you've seen, it's deeply divisive within their own party. And the consequences are that they will not be making the kind of savings in the welfare budget, which will continue to be rising very rapidly as they otherwise would. You need to have a measured and detailed approach to this, not be bounced into it all at the last minute because the Chancellor is scrabbling around for a few £1 billion here and there because she's messed up the economy, I'm afraid.
And finally, a 51-year-old British man was injured in a strike in Gaza. A charity worker said he was among 5 people injured in an explosion at a UN office for Project Services facility in Gaza that also killed a UN worker. The United Nations says the circumstances of the incident remain unclear. It follows overnight strikes on Monday, which killed at least 413 people along the Gaza Strip, according to Hamas officials. The Israeli Prime Minister said those strikes were just the beginning, and today we know that Israel has launched a limited ground invasion to retake part of a key corridor in Gaza. Both Israel and Hamas must respect international law, Downing Street said today, amid that renewed Israeli airstrike in Gaza. And those are the latest headlines for now. More in an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Mass immigration is ruining Britain and making you poorer. Illegal immigration is making it even worse and you even poorer. Step forward, US Vice President JD Vance.
If you look in nearly every country from Canada to the UK that imported large amounts of cheap labor, you've seen productivity stagnate. I don't think that's not a total happenstance. I think that the connection is very direct.
And he's absolutely right. Britain is stagnating. Despite importing about 1 million people last year, the economy is flatlining. And GDP per capita, which is what we should all really care about, GDP per capita fell by almost 1% last year. Here's a revelation that you might have missed yesterday. Home Office officials cannot explain how handing out hundreds of thousands of skilled worker visas is actually economically benefiting Britain. And it's not a shock when you look at who some of the employers sponsoring skilled workers are. 56 kebab houses, 83 businesses with Halal in their name. One butcher alone sponsored 918 visas. And then, what do loads of them do? They arrive as skilled workers, and then they apply for asylum, which, you guessed it, opens them up for a life on benefits. And this is what I really want to talk about. Labour have had an absolute shocker over benefits, Have a look at this terrible interview by Labour Minister Torsten Bell.
Could you live on 70 quid a week?
Absolutely not.
So why do you expect young people to?
We won't. We provide housing benefit as well, and we'll provide personal independence payments.
This is cash in
for
their
those
pocket.
that
This
need it.
70
So are
quid
the
cash
things I
a
just
week.
mentioned to you. So are the things I just mentioned to you. That's how the benefit system works. If people need help with their rent, they receive that as well. If they need support with a disability, personal independence payments is there for that as well.
So to buy food, to pay bills,
yes,
70 quid a week. You've just told me you couldn't live on that.
Well, no, I have a mortgage to pay because of the current situation.
Yeah, anyway, so look, what Torsten Bell and Labour don't seem to get, and by the way, I will add, I think a lot of the media don't seem to get, is this. It's not just people on benefits who have to survive on 70 quid a week. No, I bet you right now that there are millions of people in Britain who go out, work every day, slave away, and by the time they've paid income tax, council tax, energy bills, ULEZ charges, rent, food bills, taxes, they are left with just about 70 quid a week. But we have got 1 million migrant households in Britain on benefits. We spend £1.1 billion, apparently, on universal credit for refugee households. That was in 2024. If you are an illegal migrant, you can get free accommodation, phones, driving lessons, you name it, we'll give it to you. People are right on the brink financially. Businesses are being taxed more than ever. Pensioners are going cold. People who actually need benefits, in some cases, are having them cut. Farmers having to sell their land. Do you see what's happening here? The only people not getting worse off are legal and illegal immigrants. Let's get thoughts on my panel this evening. Director of Popular Conservatives Mark Littlewood, businessman and activist Adam Brooks, and, of course, we've got broadcaster Nina Mishkov. Yeah, Mark, I'll start with you on this. I am broadly in favour, right, of cutting this ballooning benefits bill and, frankly, clamping down on the reams of people who are clearly taking the absolute mick. But what seems to have got lost in all of this, for me, is the fact that actually there are loads of people who work really, really hard who still struggle to make ends meet at the end of the week or at the end of the month because of the amount of tax they're now paying.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you're right to say that the immigrant population is increasingly adding to that benefits bill. Generally speaking, not in all cases, but generally speaking, as a cohort, they're a net drain on the Exchequer's resources rather than contributors to it. But here's a number to conjure with, Patrick. 28 million people work in the private sector. They have got to support 9 million people who are completely economically inactive, 6 million people in the public sector and 13 million pensioners. Add that together, I think you get to 28 million. So you've got 28 million private sector workers having to entirely fund another 28 million people. No wonder your taxes are so high. So what we've got to do is we've got to completely overhaul the welfare system. I had a bit of sympathy with Torsten Bell there because we've got into a situation in which the interviewer was asking him, Victoria was asking him, well, could you live on 70 quid a week if you were a young person? A young person should be out working. We've got 1 in 8 of them are economically inactive, not training, not in education. This is an absolute disaster. And effectively in Britain, we are increasingly paying people not to work and charging people more and more if they do work. What's going to happen, do you think? We've seen, for example, for the first time in donkey's years, the proportion of British people who are millionaires is falling.
Absolutely.
So the amount of people we've got to get the revenue from is going down and down and down, and the bill is going up and up and up.
Look, Adam, I do wonder, there are quite a few people who are saying that the benefits cut is unfair. There will be people who slip through the cracks in this. There will be people who genuinely need it, who now probably going to find it harder to get, etc. But I do wonder if something quite interesting is going to happen, which is that people who maybe traditionally vote Labour or who are hard left, who might be quite content to take a load of benefits, are now going to look at who's not having any benefit cuts. Illegal migrants, migrant households in many cases as well, and whether they're going to wake up to some of these realities.
Yeah, look, this country's become the dustbin for people around the world that want a free life, want to come and claim asylum or get a cash-in-hand job. We are being gamed so badly in this country that the money will run out. Now, some figures earlier, $7.5 billion for universal credit for migrants, $3.5 billion for public spending services for migrants, $6.6 billion for asylum seeker hotels and support. How can we afford this for much longer? And I made a point earlier to you out the back that we've had so many millions come in over the last 5 years. As soon as they hit 5 years, they're all allowed to claim as well.
Yep.
So we've got a time bomb about to hit this country that we cannot afford. And then that's without them sending for their relatives around the world. This country is going to change so badly in the next 5 to 10 years, it will be unrecognisable.
Yeah, I mean, that time bomb point is a really good one, actually, because if you think about it, essentially, if you can cling on in Britain for 5 years, which most people seem to be able to do now with the amount of appeals, etc., there is a very good chance that you can end up on benefits. And if you think about that volume of people that are here, as Adam was saying, that is a ticking time bomb. You know, what do you make of this? We've got, obviously, pensioners having the winter fuel payment cut, farmers now with the taxes, business rates going up, taxes going up, everything. Do you think people are going to look at this and think, well, hang on a minute, who's not having any difficulty here? You know, people who've come here illegally or migrant households, 1 million of them or so, seem able to get on the universal credit ladder quite quickly. Do you think that could build a bit of resentment there?
I'm sure there is resentment, but the problem is we have brought this problem upon ourselves, because you talk about hard-working Brits, and of course many millions of people are very hard-working, and they still struggle. That's a common situation. But there are other Brits, as you say, who are not hard-working. We've got 1.8 million out of work. I mean, this is nonsensical. As you said, 1 million kids between the age of 16 and 24 who are doing nothing with their lives, absolutely nothing. And I can see this as a great move that Keir Starmer's. Everybody's dancing around the whole mental health issue. You know, I'm too anxious to work. The world's too terrible. I've got to have a day off, mental health day off.
Or a BMW sports car.
All of that. So what they're trying to do is to galvanise a lot of young people. But the problem is that since Brexit, where we lost so many EU workers. We have actually given visas, 200,000 visas in 2021 to low-paid workers.
Well, it's the great betrayal. Well, it's the great betrayal.
No, but it's the Brits' own fault, because we are not doing those jobs. What? They tried desperately to get people to pick the cabbages or to go to care homes and wipe Granny's bottom, but they don't do it. Okay. These are jobs that we won't do, and we're having to bring people in to do it.
Nina is right that we are the authors of our own downfall here, because clearly we have designed the system that prevails. So we're going to have to change that system radically. And we have made it far too easy for someone to say, actually, I don't quite fancy getting up and picking fruit for a living, because it is very easy to game the system to live on welfare. We have made living on welfare effectively a lifestyle choice, and you are remunerated pretty much the same as if you do low-skilled, low-paid work. So why would you go out and do some, hard graft of, whether it's fruit picking or something else, if you can get much the same to stay at home and play computer games? We've designed that welfare system. It's a catastrophe. We've got to get back to the founding principle of the welfare state. Beveridge, the Beveridge report, which set up the welfare state, Beveridge, a liberal lefty, said welfare should be at subsistence levels and it should only be temporary. And that should be the basis of the welfare system. We've got a welfare bill now, which is over £300 billion a year. Absolute insanity. We've got to get that down, not by 5 billion, not by 10 billion. We've got to
that's a start. It's a start.
It become a lifestyle choice instead of a safety net, and that is a fact. And as you said, too many are gaming that system, whether they're British or they're foreign.
Can I just make a point? Because I know I have a lot of viewers and listeners and whatever else who are on benefits, OK, for whatever reason, or who get some form of help because they genuinely need it. And what I would hope comes across, and I want to make this clear, because maybe I didn't articulate that as well as I could have done on Monday night, is that I'm not having a go at you. I don't think anyone's having a go at you. People need help. If you need help, it's there. I hope I'm not ever in that situation, but if I am and I need help, I will take it, right? It's the people who are gaming the system, and there are obviously millions of them, obviously. And I would politely suggest maybe some of the people who get a bit about benefits cuts because it affects them. Maybe you should be a bit harsher on the people who are gaming it, because they're taking money off you, actually, and they're making it harder for you to get what you want and need.
Yeah, Patrick, I think the genuinely needy in this country should get more benefits, but we need to cut the millions that can go out and work, aren't going out to work because they feel a bit stressed some days. Rewind 20 years, you would never believe that is a thing now.
Yeah.
And we've lost as a society.
But we have failed to look to the future and train the people we need. Why did the Tories put a cap on doctors' training?
That might have been the BMA.
The doctors want a cap on it. That's the problem.
To 7,000 a year. So, but listen. So, if you are unfortunate enough to have to go to a hospital for any procedure, you will find you are very, you are very lucky to be surrounded by people from around the world.
Yeah.
We just don't have those.
When you see those things like we saw about those the far right riots that never happened and were never going to happen, by the way, where you saw the brave, formidable People's Army of Walthamstow standing there with refugees welcome signs and all of that. And I wonder now, when they see the benefits bill being cut, and they think, oh, OK, well, why are we having to cut that? Well, we've got to write a cheque for 300 billion quid for the welfare state before we've even got out of bed in the morning. And a lot of that is going to migrant hotels, it's going to all of this stuff.
Let's not forget that many migrants who are on middle income and hiring actually contribute a lot to our country.
They do. The problem is that is true, but as a total cohort in aggregate, it isn't. So the problem is, in aggregate, in totality, the million people who are coming in are in totality a drain. I think in the last cohort, only 16% of them are working at all. Now, some of them will be brain surgeons, computer technicians, engineers. But as a cohort, they are, on balance, in aggregate, on the spreadsheet, a major drain on the Exchequer's resources.
But if we bring in low-skilled workers, because the jobs we as Brits are either too lazy
or to get our Brits to do them.
We'll try. Well, let's get the Brits to do them, but they're not doing them, are they?
You've got to cut welfare to get them into work.
So you bring these people in to do these low-paid jobs, and then they end up on benefits because they are having it hard.
One point we need to also make, sorry, Nina, is that a lot of money, benefits from these foreign immigrants, is going abroad. So we are losing billions of pounds, of British pounds, going abroad. They're sending them home to their families.
And there's the black economy as well that we see, that money, we never see that, do we? But anyway, right, OK, loads more to come. I think I've got some gripping topics for you. But before all of that, of course, I want to make your spring spectacular. It's the Great British Giveaway. How much money, you ask? Well, it's £17,777 in tax-free cash. Still got no idea why it's that number, but I wouldn't say no to it. Here's how you can win.
Spring has sprung with a Great British Giveaway, and we're giving you the chance to splash out this season with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Jet off on your dream holiday, treat yourself to something special, or just save it for a rainy day. You'll also receive 2 brand new designer watches and a Mulberry handbag, so you can really look the part this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I've got confirmation as to why it's 17,777. It's because it's the spring sensational giveaway. I'm told it's all the S's. So there we go. All right, make of that what you will. It's a lot of money. Good luck, everybody. Good luck. Coming up, police forces and courts are now allowing hardened criminals to choose their own gender. The double rapist Isla Bryson, murderer Scarlett Blake, they were all referred to as women in court despite being born male and being male. So is it an insult to victims? First, though, they're banned in most European countries, including Belgium and in Denmark. So is it not time that we also banned halal slaughterhouses here in Britain? Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because you're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
I ended up being hospitalised, and I was diagnosed with it within the first few days of being in hospital. I was in hospital for 2 months, and I came out about 13 months ago, something like that. And I realised that there are people that aren't as lucky as me that don't have that platform to be able to talk about it, bring it out in the public, and deal with the stigma, because there is still a stigma.
A lot of people don't really know what bipolar is. So in you, Heston, how did it manifest itself?
It's funny because before the diagnosis, I mean, everything, many things, from thinking the TV was talking to me to hallucinating stuff. The downside is suicidal thoughts, which seemed normal at the time. The upside is the thing is grandiosity, somewhere between Superman and Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Save the world, love everybody, everything is fantastic. And then it comes crashing down. It's a bit like a toddler, you know, an overexcited child. And when a kid gets overexcited, and then something happens, and then they start crying.
Wow. So massive highs, big lows.
Yeah, but I thought everything was normal. It's only now that I've come out the other side, so to speak, that I look back and can see some of the character traits. I mean, my patience levels were almost non-existent before. I'm a lot more patient. I'm talking much slower. I was talking very quickly.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here with an exclusive opportunity just for you, our incredible GB News viewers. We're giving you the opportunity to win a VIP studio tour right here at GB News HQ. Plus, you'll also get to meet yours truly. It's easy to enter, just head to gbnews.com/community competition and follow the easy steps. Don't miss out. Enter now, and I'll see you soon at GB News. Full T's and C's apply.
I'm Stephen Dixon, and thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody, to Patrick Christys Tonight. Coming up, are the police and courts skewing crime stats? They're allowing criminals to choose their own gender now, remarkably. But first, should we ban halal slaughterhouses? It's time now for the head-to-head. So, the government has rejected the former Reform UK MP Rupert Lowe's calls for a ban on halal slaughterhouses. So, halal slaughter is the Islamic method of killing animals with, they say, a single cut made to the animal's throat, often without stunning the animal first. While in the name of God, of course, it's being invoked, the Jewish practice of kosher slaughter also uses a similar method, as I understand it anyway, by the way, a warning about some of the footage that we're about to show you. It might apparently be quite distressing. So, slaughtering animals without stunning them first can cause severe suffering because animals remain conscious and can feel pain until death. There is another aspect to this, though, because it's not just the method of slaughter, it's also the way that halal slaughterhouses are being run. So, indeed, in many European countries, including Denmark and Belgium, they've banned halal and kosher slaughter. Look, tonight I'm asking, should we ban halal slaughterhouses? And presumably that would mean we would have to ban kosher ones as well. Let me know your thoughts, gbnews.com/your say. Going head-to-head on this now, the co-chair of the Muslim Jewish Forum of Greater Manchester, Mohammed Amin, and the journalist and commentator, Khadija Khan. Thank you very much. Great to have you both on the show. Look, Khadija, I'll start with you. Should we ban halal slaughterhouses?
That this is not about one particular community or any group. It's about animal welfare. And as you said, that this has been banned in other European countries. It's not only Denmark and Belgium, it's Norway, Finland, Latvia, and there are also talks in Switzerland to ban halal slaughter because there is a certain reason for that. It causes unnecessary suffering to animals, and stunned method, even for the halal meat, is not as alien to the Muslim community. According to the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, it's 65% of animals slaughtered for halal meat are stunned before slaughtering. So I think it should not be a controversial matter. If concession can be made, it should be made, because there is no reason in this day and age, when we are all talking about human rights, we cause unnecessary suffering to animals.
OK, well, it's on that point, Mohammed, that I'll bring you in. Look, you can very easily make the case that any slaughter of animals is suffering, OK? I suppose the question is halal slaughtering unnecessary, cruel amounts of suffering for animals that has no place in this country?
About 2015, when I was involved in a petition to preserve the right to both halal and kosher slaughter in Britain, I looked at the available scientific evidence, and as far as I was able to gather, and this is the view of my Jewish friends who have spent more time studying the issue than I have, frankly, halal slaughter and kosher slaughter done well are not cruel, and there is no evidence that they cause additional pain to the animal compared with stunning. However, even if it was more painful for the animal, and I stress I don't accept that it is, even if it was, I think the rights of human beings to practice their religion are paramount in this situation. And the religious position is as follows. Muslims' religious views vary. Some Muslims, including me, sorry about that, some Muslims, including me, accept that stunning before slaughter is okay.
Yeah.
Other Muslims do not. The Jewish position is crystal clear. Orthodox Jews do not accept stunning before slaughter. And that is why, partly as a matter of religious solidarity, and also because I don't want to impose my religious beliefs on other Muslims, I believe in preserving the right to religious slaughter exactly as we have it right now in this country.
OK, all right. Khadija, I think there's two aspects to this. There's that aspect of just the process. Now, a lot of people watching this might say, well, how can it not be more cruel to the animal? If you imagined yourself having a throat cut versus basically being shot in the head with a bolt gun, presumably there's a longer period of consciousness with the throat cutting than there is with the stun gun. That would just be my assumption to that. But there's also been numerous reports about the way that these slaughterhouses are being run, Khadija, which is the other aspect to it, I think, is it not?
Wrongs doesn't make one right. If there is some problem with treating animals in these slaughterhouses, we need to look into that process. We need to criticize it. We need to bring reforms in those things. When we talk about religious freedom specifically, I want to say that religious freedoms are not absolute. There are some limitation to those religious freedom, as it is mentioned in Article 9, Paragraph 2 of a European Convention of Human Rights on Human Rights. That these religious freedoms can be limited according to the law of the land, or the values of a secular society can also put restraint, because there are certain religious practices which are, considered discriminatory and misogynistic. So it cannot be absolute thing for. And as I said, if there is a space to make concession, it's not about one group thinks differently and the other group think differently. We cannot cater people individually. We cannot cater the needs of individual people or groups when it comes to make decision about animal welfare. We have to look into the process in which these animals are being treated or taken care of, and then, of course, slaughtered. As you said, the argument can be made that why we slaughter animal in the first place. But if there is a space for compassion and kindness towards animal, I think the people who claim to be, the followers of such a kind and
I'm going to have to go to Mohammed because
they can make the case for the kindness for animals as well.
All right, OK, fine. Sorry, Mohammed, I want to give you the last word on this. Look, just in terms of that religious freedoms argument you had, and forgive me, I am going to take a bit of a route one approach to this. It's an oversimplification of the issue, but this is what I'm going to do. It says here, there's no minimum age for marriage specified in the Quran or whatever. So you said that maybe people could slaughter animals because that's an aspect of religious freedoms, but obviously we have an age of consent in this country. So there are times, aren't there, where your religious strict letter of the law is compromised because of the law of the land. So, is that
Absolutely,
not maybe not?
But here, it is one thing to override religious freedom to protect other human beings, which is what we're doing in the case of a law about how old you have to be to get married. It's another thing to put arguments, and I said there are arguments, so I don't accept the position about the position of animals compared to human beings. Human beings' rights comes first. Now, if you mentioned the badly run slaughterhouses, I'll be the first to support you. We want every slaughterhouse to be well run. I don't like videos of animals being thrown around as was shown on your program earlier on. So if you want to campaign for better run halal and kosher slaughterhouses, I'll be the first to support you.
OK. Look, thank you very much, both of you. Really informative stuff, that. So that's the co-chair of the Muslim Jewish Forum of Greater Manchester, Mohammed Amin, and the journalist and commentator Khadija Khan. Well, loads coming your way, including this.
You will against all of us! This is not your land! This is not your land! You are not my kids! You are not our kids!
Australia's dealt a blow to the monarchy. They've removed the king from a new banknote. That's after his trip down under last year was overshadowed by that anti-monarchy protester. Now, I'm just wondering, has the king got it in him, or is he a bit too weak and woke to preserve the monarchy and the Commonwealth? First, though, police forces and courts are allowing hardened criminals now to choose their own gender. Stay tuned.
I hope it doesn't rain.
Don't worry about it.
It'll spoil our holiday.
Relax, we're totally covered.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations forecast.
Whilst we're enjoying plenty of sunshine across the UK at the moment, it's a cool and blustery picture across the eastern Med, and we have stormy conditions out towards the west as well. So parts of Portugal and Spain really seeing some very unsettled weather with thunderstorms, heavy rain and strong winds over the next few days. Fine across most of Italy, though, with some sunshine, and fairly decent across Greece and Turkey, but cool and blustery in those strong northwesterly winds. Temperatures are set to increase, though, over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations forecast.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Corton Beach is not a naturist beach. Lewd behaviour will not be tolerated and may be recorded by CCTV and reported to the police.
It says causing an offence to others is a criminal. Causing offence to others is a criminal offence, and all cases will be reported for prosecution. And a spokesman then says, we're not targeting or trying to outlaw the naturist. The parish council recognises that naturism in the UK is legal.
So what are they doing then?
Well, let's talk to the organiser to find out. The British Naturism Eastern Regional, Nigel Newman, joins us now. Morning, Nigel. Sorry, I think it's the first time I've interviewed somebody without their top on. But, you know... Right, Nigel, what's going on down there? Because I think we pretty much support your right to be able to, you know, swing free on a nice warm day.
Well, the thing is, Corton Beach in Suffolk is very, very popular and has been since the 1970s for naturists. And one of the reasons for that is right next to a car park with a cafe with toilets. And there's, and this is a bit important, there's a ramp that goes right down to the top of the beach, which is ideal for disabled naturists. And that's one of the reasons that it's so well attended over the years. And what's happened is back in December, this sign appeared, great big yellow sign with black writing saying, warning, as you read out, Corton Beach is not a naturist beach. Well, that's not accurate because every beach is a naturist beach. Naturism is not unlawful. And the sign then goes on to suggest, because it's in the very next sentence, that lewd behaviour will not be tolerated. Well, British naturism totally agree with that statement. Lewd behaviour should not be tolerated. Yeah. But lewd behaviour and naturism are two completely different things.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. Coming up, is the monarchy being called into question now under the King's leadership? But first, there are fears tonight that victims are being treated with contempt and crime statistics are being skewered after it emerged that police forces and courts are now allowing hardened criminals to just choose their own gender. Criminals who say that they're a different gender but who have not legally changed sex are routinely referred to by their preferred identity by officers and in courts. In 2023, the Scottish two-time rapist Isla Bryson was referred to as a woman in court. In fact, there was a big controversy about whether or not he was going to be sent to a women's prison. There are other examples of this, of course, as well. I'm joined now by the policing lead for the Women's Rights Network campaign group, Cathy Larkman. Cathy, what is this just making a mockery of crime statistics and indeed women's rights, do you think?
Well, it absolutely is, Patrick, and thank you for having me on to discuss this. Both the courts and the police are letting the public down and are lying to the public, and that's totally wrong for any organisation that needs the trust and confidence of the public as well. Speaking for the police, about the police, I should say, I am a retired officer. The police as an organisation have been entirely captured by gender ideology at the very highest levels of police leadership. They've invited in activists and they've allowed their policies, including data recording, to be corrupted as a result. The corruption of data recording was actually highlighted in a government-commissioned report that was released today, led by Professor Alice Sullivan from University College of London. And within that report, it was recommended that the Home Office actually mandate all police forces across the UK to record data correctly. Unfortunately, this has been going on for some time now. It's not even just recent.
OK. Could you just explain to me then, from your own experience as a former police officer, what you mean by when you say they've been captured by this woke gender ideology and why that actually matters? You know, look, why should that matter to me? Why should that matter to my mum and dad, say? Why is it important?
Well, policing is a contract based on public consent, first of all. And the public, I believe, and my experience is, want the police to do 3 basic things. They want the police to apply the law, keep them safe, and be honest so that they can trust them. So breaking down those three things, first of all, in respect of applying the law, the police are actually applying self-identification when it comes to crime recording. So they're recording crimes on the basis of the person's feelings rather than material reality. So therefore, they're applying self-ID, which isn't the law within the UK. In terms of keeping the public safe, they're putting the public in potential danger as well, because if they send out a missing person circulation, for instance, based on somebody's perceived gender identity, then they're putting that person potentially at risk. If they put out a suspect circulation, they put in the public at risk. And if they're basing any planning and preparation on statistics which are already corrupted, then those statistics are useless. And in respect to the last point, in terms of honesty, the police are bound by the Code of Ethics. Honesty and integrity is one of those Code of Ethics, and they're lying to the public. It's just simply
I think it undermines trust fundamentally, doesn't it? When you see pictures of, frankly, a big, burly bloke in a frock who looks like at the weekends he plays prop for a local rugby team, right? And the headline is, you know, woman rapes woman. They think, well, no, they've not. Obviously, it's a bloke has raped a woman, right? And he's put a frock on and he's turned up to court and said he's called Shelley now, and they've decided that's that. I think it just undermines trust in the police force, doesn't it, really?
Well, it's also grossly insulting to rape victims and any victims of crime when they see their attacker, and in particular their rapist, and rape can only be committed by a male in the UK because of the definition of the offence, unless in a very rare amount of circumstances a female assists a male offender. So the insult to that victim is quite profound, I would suggest, really. And it also tells the public, as well as that victim, that the police value the make-believe feelings of a criminal over and above those of the victim. Which is unforgivable.
It's that idea of not wanting to cause offence. I mean, if there's a cohort of people that I don't really want to... I mean, they don't... To be fair, they didn't mind too much about whether or not they caused offence when they were slamming people's doors through in the early hours of the morning for the odd naughty little Facebook post over the summer. But, Cathy, look, thank you very much. Tremendous to have you on the show. I hope to talk to you about it again soon. Hopefully next time this has all been resolved and we can talk about that. Cathy Larkman there, the Women's Rights Network campaign group. Look, this is the thing that has got everybody talking at the moment. Have a look at this.
I'm going to start off with asking you.
Do you know a girl called Katie Leonard?
Well, is that series, Adolescence, actually demonising young white boys? Do you think that Netflix would have the bottle to do a similar series on, I don't know, you know, the plight of sex crimes amongst Afghan men? I'll give you my take at 10, but first...
You are a genocide! This is not your land! This is not your land! You are not my kids! You are not our kids!
Find out why many people are now wondering whether or not the King might be a bit too weak and woke to do what's best for the monarchy and for Britain. But of course, lest we forget, you could be here in this very studio on Friday night. Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Evening, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Another chilly one tonight across the north, particularly so in Scotland, where there will be a frost, but generally elsewhere not as cold, and it is going to feel quite warm by the afternoon. This low pressure is going to mix things up for Friday and the weekend. But still, for most places, after a cracking day of spring sunshine, it's a dry and a clear night. A bit more clouds spilling north through the night over England and Wales, helping to keep the temperatures up. And there's some thicker cloud across the Northern Isles, maybe producing one or two showers. But most of Scotland staying dry and clear. That's where we will have a frost, down to freezing, even in towns and cities, and rural spots like last night could be well below. But most of England and Wales staying above freezing, maybe parts of northern England just dipping down to 0, and potential for a little bit of mist and fog here and there also. But any mist and fog should clear quite quickly on Thursday morning. Still a small chance of a shower in Shetland, a frosty start across the bulk of mainland Scotland, but a sunny start as well. A bit more clouds across parts of Northern Ireland and England and Wales, but very patchy in nature. Generally, it is going to be another fine day with plenty of spring sunshine and not as cold as recent mornings, certainly across much of the south. Through the day, not a great deal of change. As I said, any fog should clear. There'll be some patchy cloud here and there, the very small chance of seeing an isolated light shower developing. The cloud thickening a little in the Western Isles as the breeze picks up here too, but most places with light winds feeling quite a bit warmer than recent times. Could easily reach 20, maybe 21 across the southeast and even eastern coastal counties that have been quite chilly will be warmer than recent days. The breeze picks up a little here on Friday and we start to see a change with cloud thickening and some showers for Northern Ireland, perhaps South Wales and southwest England too. But again, many other areas dry and particularly western Scotland looking pretty mild on Friday with temperatures in the high teens. Just feeling a bit cooler again on those eastern coasts. Bye for now.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here with an exclusive opportunity just for you, our incredible GB News viewers. We're giving you the opportunity to win a VIP studio tour right here at GB News HQ. Plus, you'll also get to meet yours truly. It's easy to enter, just head to gbnews.com/community competition and follow the easy steps. Don't miss out, enter now and I'll see you soon at GB News. Full T's and C's apply.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Welcome back. So coming up, would Netflix have the bottle to make a TV series about illegal migrants committing sex crimes? I suspect not. Why is it always about working-class white men and boys? But first, King Charles has been dealt an international body blow after he was notably excluded from Australia's new $5 note. The Reserve Bank of Australia has announced that the redesigned bill will feature an Indigenous theme, replacing the image of King Charles III. That's after the monarch's tour down under last October was overshadowed somewhat by, well, frankly, this lunatic.
You will against Solomon! This is not your land! This is not your land! You are not my king! You are not our king!
The King is now being accused, in certain quarters anyway, of being a little bit too political, met with the Canadian Prime Minister, didn't he, of course, Mark Carney. He's also addressed calls for slavery reparations. He's also slammed earlier this month when he decided to wish Muslims a happy Ramadan but failed to say anything, really, about Lent, Ash Wednesday or Shrove Tuesday. I'm joined now by royal correspondent at The Spectator, Cara Kennedy. Cara, look, I'm a monarchist. Most people watching and listening to this are. But there are growing concerns, I think, that the King might be a little bit too weak and woke to ensure the survival of the monarchy.
I think that a lot of people are thinking that, Patrick. I think the sun is definitely setting on the British Empire. This note, the Australian note, has had a portrait of the late Queen Elizabeth since 1992, but a British monarch has appeared on Australian banknotes since 1923 with George V. So this is a pretty big statement. Since the question came up nearly 3 years ago now of what to do with the note, there's been a lot of back and forth. And I know that Charles originally thought he would appear on the note, or at least the coins. So what this says is that more and more Commonwealth countries don't want the royals. I mean, we just saw in the video then. We've seen this in the Caribbean over the past few years. I think at least 6 of those islands want out. So, yeah, it's not looking good.
No, I mean, also, look, I'm willing to be corrected on this, but my understanding is he's not really said anything about the idea that we're parting with the Chagos Islands either. I mean, that is presumably a bit of his sovereign territory that we're just signing off. He seems to be willing to let that go. There's been the apologies to Ngozi Fulani. There was, of course, this recently as well. I think we could play a little clip of something quite remarkable, actually, that happened. Yeah, the Islamic call to prayer there, bellowing out from Windsor Castle. Do you think he's doing enough to preserve the monarchy here, or is he maybe being a bit soft? What do you think?
Well, he's a pretty soft guy. I mean, he always kind of has been. I think Elizabeth was a lot more concerned about preserving tradition. But I don't really think it's his fault. I mean, he is in this woke world now. He's stepping into the shoes of his mother, which was always going to be an impossible task. She was so loved and revered. And I think many countries found it to be kind of a natural stopping point upon her death to part with the royals. But in terms of that clip that we just saw, I think that he is a people pleaser. And I know a lot of Christians were very, very upset about his lack of care or kind of public statements regarding Lent.
Yeah.
So I think that it's difficult because he is a people pleaser and he always kind of wants to cozy up to different people and different parts of the country. But he's always going to upset one side if he does that.
Well, possibly. I would argue you could do both, though. And in the recent case of Lent, for example, he chose to do Ramadan. He didn't choose, as far as I saw anyway, really to do anything about Lent. And I must say, I found that a little bit odd, to say the least. I just wonder whether he realises that a culture of appeasement to the woke mob actually only ever backfires. If you give an inch, they take a mile.
That's definitely true. And I think he is probably stuck in 2022 and before, because there seems to have been a natural kind of stopping point with wokeness now, and maybe he hasn't caught up to the fact that he can actually do traditional things, and that's what everybody will appreciate him for, instead of kind of trying to appease every single aspect of the country.
Yeah, indeed. Look, Cara, thank you very much for your time this evening. Always a pleasure to see you. It's Cara Kennedy there, the royal correspondent at The Spectator. I'll say it again. Look, I am a fan of the King. I'm a massive fan of the monarchy, of course. I just worry about the direction of travel. I worry about the future of it. And I think maybe it would be nice to see someone who's more unashamed in standing up for certain things instead of bowing down. But, hey, what do I know? Anyway, coming up at 10 p.m.
Could you live on 70 quid a week?
Absolutely not.
So why do you expect young people to?
We won't. We provide housing benefit as well, and we'll provide personal independence payments.
This is cash in their pocket. This is 70 quid cash a week.
So are the things I just mentioned to you. So are the things I just mentioned to you. That's how the benefit system works.
Yeah, look, hey, absolutely shocking there from Labour, potentially saying the right things, just going about saying it in the wrong way. But when I come back, it's the big one, this. The TV series that absolutely everyone has been talking about is Adolescence. Now, if you haven't seen it, don't worry, but I want to know whether or not you think that the demonisation of young, white, working-class boys and men is a massive problem in this country. Why do we only ever see them being the target of things like drama series? Why is it only ever the comment about toxic masculinity when it comes to young, white, working-class boys? Why don't we ever have conversations about toxic masculinity in aspects of Middle Eastern culture that we're importing here? I'm going to get stuck into that. I'm going to talk about it next.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers. Sponsors of weather on GB News.
Evening. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Another chilly one tonight across the north, particularly so in Scotland, where there will be a frost, but generally elsewhere not as cold, and it is going to feel quite warm in the afternoon. This pressure is going to mix things up for Friday and the weekend. But still, for most places, after a cracking day of spring sunshine, it's a dry and a clear night. A bit more clouds spilling north through the night over England and Wales, helping to keep the temperatures up. And there's some thicker cloud across the Northern Isles, maybe producing one or two showers. But most of Scotland staying dry and clear. That's where we will have a frost down to freezing, even in towns and cities, and rural spots like last night could be well below. But most of England and Wales staying above freezing, maybe parts of northern England just dipping down to 0, and potential for a little bit of mist and fog here and there also. But any mist and fog should clear quite quickly on Thursday morning. Still a small chance of a shower in Shetland, a frosty start across the bulk of mainland Scotland, but a sunny start as well. A bit more clouds across parts of Northern Ireland and England and Wales, but very patchy in nature. Generally, it is going to be another fine day with plenty of spring sunshine and not as cold as recent mornings, certainly across much of the south. Through the day, not a great deal of change. As I said, any fog should clear. There'll be some patchy cloud here and there, the very small chance of seeing an isolated light shower developing. The cloud thickening a little in the Western Isles as the breeze picks up here too, but most places with light winds feeling quite a bit warmer than recent times. Could easily reach 20, maybe 21 across the southeast, and even eastern coastal counties that have been quite chilly will be warmer than recent days. The breeze picks up a little here on Friday, and we start to see a change with cloud thickening and some showers for Northern Ireland, perhaps South Wales and southwest England too. But again, many other areas dry, and particularly western Scotland looking pretty mild on Friday with temperatures in the high teens. Just feeling a bit cooler again on those eastern coasts. Bye for now.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front.
You could be the next big winner of the Great British Giveaway, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. Cash that you'll be able to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag, and not one, but two sought-after designer watches, so you can style it out this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
Oh, no, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes. Thank you for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight.
Police! What
are you looking for? You're making a big mistake. He's only a kid.
Dad, I haven't done anything.
It's the new Netflix drama that everyone is talking about.
I'm going to start off with asking you.
Do you know a girl called Katie Leonard?
But is Adolescence demonising young white boys? And would Netflix have the bottle to do a series about illegal immigrants committing sex crimes? Also...
Would you live on 70 quid a week?
Absolutely not.
So why do you expect young people to?
We won't. We provide housing benefit as well, and we'll provide personal independence payments.
This is cash in their pocket. This is 70 quid
So are the
cash
things I just
a week.
mentioned to you. So are the things I just mentioned to you. That's how the benefit system works.
A Labour minister slammed for a car crash, heartless benefits interview, but...
And the second is to tell the Department of Work and Pensions that your mental health makes it hard to leave the house.
Come on, let's get real. It seems very easy to get a car or benefits if you know how to game the system. Also... Well, if you are a hardened criminal and you happen to be a man, you can just say you're a woman and the police will let you. Plus...
We cannot rebuild Western civilization. We cannot rebuild the United States of America or Europe by letting millions and millions of unvetted illegal migrants come into our country. It has to stop.
Bad news for the Refugees Welcome Brigade, as the facts now prove there is no economic case for mass migration. On my panel this evening is the Director of Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood, landlord and activist Adam Brooks, and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. And, OK, whose side are you on here?
How it feels to have it be out there.
It's gonna be great. You're a winner.
Oh my God, when I'm talking, you're not talking. No, when I'm talking, you're not talking.
Oh, gosh. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. When is the Netflix series about asylum seekers outside primary schools? Next.
Patrick, thank you. The top stories. Volodymyr Zelensky says he believes lasting peace can be achieved this year with the support of the US after a phone call with the US President. Donald Trump says much of the discussion was based on the call made yesterday with President Putin to align both Russia and Ukraine in terms of their requests and needs. The Russian and US presidents had agreed to a limited ceasefire on energy and infrastructure targets earlier this week, but airstrikes have continued as the Kremlin held off from accepting a 30-day truce. Zelensky said last night's drone attacks on Ukraine's infrastructure showed Russia's not ready to end the war. During his call with Mr. Trump today, Zelensky asked him for additional air defense missiles to protect Ukraine's civilians. And the US president said he'd work with him on this, but that they'd look at what was available in Europe. A 51-year-old British man was injured in a strike in Gaza, the demining charity he worked for says. Darren Cormack, the chief executive of Mines Advisory Group, said in a statement he was among 5 people injured in an explosion at a UN Office for Project Services facility in Deir al-Balah in Gaza that also killed a United Nations worker. The UN says the circumstances of the incident remain unclear. It follows overnight strikes on Monday, which killed at least 413 people along the Gaza Strip, according to Hamas officials. The Israeli Prime Minister said those strikes were just the beginning. And today we know that Israel has launched a limited ground invasion to retake part of a key corridor in Gaza. Both Israel and Hamas must respect international law, Downing Street said today, amid the renewed Israeli airstrikes in Gaza. In other news, a teenager who was planning a mass shooting at his old primary school has been jailed for life with a minimum term of 49 years for murdering his family. 19-year-old Nicholas Prosper from Luton pleaded guilty last month to the murders of his mother, Juliana, who was 48, his siblings, Carl Prosper, aged 16, and 13-year-old Giselle. Court hearings revealed he'd fantasised about becoming the country's worst mass school killer with a plan to kill 30 children and 2 teachers. In the sentencing today, the judge said the words heartless and brutal were insufficient to describe the horror of the last moments suffered by his victims. And King Charles and Queen Camilla have made an official visit to Northern Ireland. The visit included a private meeting with First and Deputy First Ministers at Hillsborough Castle. This morning, the King and Queen visited Commercial Court, which was ranked as the most attractive street in Northern Ireland in 2022. They then visited the Sea Holly Gallery to view artwork that featured Belfast musicians and artists. The aim of their visit was to showcase the strong links between Newforge and the PSNI and the shared objectives of the advancement of sport for all and promoting community. Those are the latest headlines. For now, more in an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good evening. Are working class white men and boys always the easy target? Adolescence is the box office Netflix series that's got everyone talking. Now, it covers the harrowing story of a seemingly normal young lad who brutally kills a girl. Now, I want to start by saying that I've watched every single second of it. And the actor, Stephen Graham, is magnificent. He's actually my favourite British actor. Ashley Walters is great. The star of the show for me is, of course, the little lad, Owen Cooper, who is clearly an absolute superstar.
Amy, if you do not sit... Look, I don't want to sit down! You do not tell me when to sit down! You do not control my... Look at me
As a piece of cinema, it's stellar. The dialogue is intricate and captivating. The insight it gives into the emotions that parents must feel after their child commits a hideous crime is remarkable.
But him going guilty is probably for the best. And if you were honest, you'd see that as well.
I saw what I saw. I didn't want to believe it. And when I saw it...
It probably deserves to scoop all the awards that are no doubt coming its way. It was even raised in Parliament today.
Everyone is talking about Adolescence, the series by Knowsley's own Stephen Graham and Christine Tamarco. It highlights online male radicalisation. So will the Prime Minister back this campaign to counter toxic misogyny early and give young men the role models they deserve?
This violence carried out by young men, influenced by what they see online, is a real problem. It's abhorrent, and we have to tackle it.
Online radicalisation, incel culture, violence against women, these are all very real problems. But my concern is this. Will this perpetuate a narrative that the biggest problem in society and the biggest threat posed to women and girls comes from working-class white boys? Does it run the risk of demonising them? They are already told to check their privilege. They're already told that people who look like them are responsible for all of the world's evils. They're already the worst performing at school. It is always easier for celebrities and politicians to jump on a bandwagon if the problem is seen to be white Brits. Stephen Graham is apparently from Knowsley in Liverpool, as the local MP pointed out just there. But do we remember what else happened in Knowsley?
Get them out! Get them out! Get them out!
No far right here, lad. Just concerned parents. Concerned parents. I've got 2 daughters. I'm concerned for the safety. We're going to carry on until they're gone.
A video emerged that appeared to show a foreign man who claimed to be 25 approaching a 15-year-old schoolgirl. Now, obviously, people shouldn't have attacked the asylum hotel, but there was a sense from locals that their girls were under threat from foreign men. And this is something that actually is echoed right across this country.
Yeah, are you guys aware that the asylum seekers that you guys have got in the hotel are down by the school taking photographs?
Are they doing it right now?
They're not right now, but they were about 9 o'clock this morning.
Our phone's been going crazy all morning. I've been getting a lot of phone calls.
Oh, bless you.
I'm not aware of what's going on.
When I drove by this morning, it seemed like it was all just men in the hotel. Is there actually any women and children, or is it just men?
No, there isn't any women and children.
Yeah. Do you think that Netflix would commission a series on the threat to women posed by illegal immigrants and asylum seekers? Do you think that Netflix would commission a series on the threat to women posed by foreign people in Britain? Foreigners are 3 times as likely to be arrested for sex offences than British citizens. Asylum seeker Abdul Azidi doused a woman and a child in acid in Clapham. That kind of violent misogyny, perpetuated by men from Middle Eastern nations, very rarely gets raised in the House of Commons, does it? When it came to the Pakistani rape gang scandal, there have been 2 documentaries on the, quote, fake grooming gang scandal. Now, as far as I'm aware, there's only really been 1 drama about the real scandal, which, as we know, has taken place in at least 50 towns and cities right across the country. Will Netflix commission a documentary on toxic masculinity among some aspects of the British Muslim community? That can be an unbelievably patriarchal culture where many regard women as being second-class citizens. What about the fact that cases of female genital mutilation rose by 15% a couple of years ago? What culture was responsible for that? Was that young, working-class white boys? We've got unbelievable gang culture in Britain. Unfortunately, much of that seems to be carried out now by young, often black and Asian men. Now, obviously, there are loads of documentaries and dramas on gang culture, but how many of them really get stuck into the issue of fatherlessness amongst the black community? Now, I'm not trying to offend anyone by saying any of this stuff. I'm really not. OK? And the issue of young boys and men going online, being radicalised, becoming incels, thinking that women are evil and that they can be violent towards them is a huge problem, OK? But here's what I think. Toxic masculinity is not the preserve of British working-class white men and boys. In fact, the stats I've shown earlier would actually indicate that the biggest threat to women, certainly in a sexual sense, comes from foreign-born men, many of whom, you would imagine, will not be white. The problem is celebrities, actors, TV executives, judges for TV and film awards, many people in the media and, of course, politicians only feel really comfortable highlighting issues where people are to blame. How long will it be before Netflix commissions a series on the misogyny, backward and sexually violent attitudes towards women held by some people who have just entered Britain illegally from parts of the Middle East? Let's get thoughts on my panel this evening. Director of the Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood, businessman and activist, Adam Brooks, and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. Look, everybody's talking about this. It was raised in Parliament today. It's probably going to scoop a load of awards. Stephen Graham, Ashley Walters, they're all over the media at the moment. Rightly so. You know, I do just feel... I'll start with you, actually, Adam, on this, if you don't mind. How do you feel about this? Do you think this runs the risk of unnecessarily and unfairly making it out that kind of white working-class boys are the main problem?
Yeah, look, it's a clearly very well-made programme, drama, very hard-hitting, raises some serious issues. I've got a 15-year-old boy, so I know many of the issues that this drama sort of highlights, but we are running the risk of demonising young working-class white boys. I think there's a lack of parenting now with many of these younger generations. My young boy has got a phone, he's got access to certain social media, but we check it and I speak to him. He says things that I don't like and I correct him on it and I educate him on some of the things that he says to me. I believe that there's a lot of this younger generation that don't have a father figure around or parents that actually parent, and that is a problem. But let's remember, this is not a series that should highlight white boys being a danger to women in society.
I suppose this idea now of it shining a light... It's shining a light on many things. One of them is unquestionably this idea of toxic masculinity and incel culture, OK? But certainly when it comes to toxic masculinity, I don't know how many politicians would be willing to stand up in the House of Commons there, or how many celebrities or actors or actresses would be willing to really shine a light on rampant toxic masculinity amongst certain aspects of the British Muslim community.
It's a very fair point. I think your monologue is a pretty good pitch for a Netflix drama series. If Netflix won't do it, let's find someone who will. I agree with your general hypothesis that there is a tendency in the arts, not just in Netflix, it's rampant across Hollywood, that you are telling stories that tend to have a kind of liberal, left, white, middle-class guilt element to them, many more of those than there are of other types of stories. In this particular case, I've watched it as well. I mean, it is brilliant but harrowing, right? Don't watch this and crack open a couple of beers and tuck into the nachos. I mean, this is a really grim drama. But I didn't come away thinking it had demonised anyone, actually. I thought it was quite a powerful story about how Britain is completely broken. The family in it, for example, are a pretty united group. It's a very loving and supportive marriage. They love their kids. It's not about fatherlessness. But I'm with you that drama needs to be, hard-hitting, needs to expose the truth in each and every area. And the example I would give, I think this will be coming to our shores soon. A few years ago, a great film came out called The Sound of Freedom. It was about child trafficking from Latin America to the USA. Hollywood would not touch it. Jim Caviezel was the lead man in it. It was based on a true story, but it was considered to be far right and not the sort of story you want to tell, because it was about a hero white guy trying to stop trafficking. But it was crowdfunded and made a fortune. And I think increasingly studios are discovering that old thing, go woke, go broke, get woke, go broke. There is a market for the sort of drama series you're telling, a market for it, and I also think a public interest in it being produced.
100%. And again, I want to make it clear, because it's just a difficult thing to talk about. And like I said, Stephen Gray is by far and away, I think,
he's brilliant.
My favourite actor. He's remarkable in everything. I don't want for a single second to be seen to be slagging that guy off. I think that I don't think this thing shouldn't have been made. I don't think there's any actual flaws to it. What I am saying is I don't think something that may be told a different narrative would be made, Nina. And I think that's a bit of a problem.
Well, I think it might be made. I mean, you were talking about the Rochdale scandals. There was a drama called Three Girls in 2017, and I don't see why there won't be a drama made. And I agree with what everybody said about Stephen Graham. He co-wrote it.
Yeah.
And it was done... They're all done in one take, like that
Amazing.
Brilliant film Boiling Point. So all credit to him. But I think what the series highlighted wasn't the fact that it was a white kid. It was talking about how society and parents have been sleepwalking into exposing their children to danger. And to all sorts of influences. But 20 or 30 years ago, there was no way that a young boy could see porn, moving porn. Yes. I mean, you get grubby magazines, but you
know what I can see happening now, though, Nina, and I think it will happen, is that there are calls to show this in Parliament, there are calls to show it in every single school. I can see there being some kind of law introduced off the back of this that limits people's online freedoms and children's online freedoms. So some people might think that's...
I hope so, yes.
Some people might think that's...
Go the Australian way.
OK, all right. But there's not the same kind of readiness and rush to have a conversation about repeated instances of asylum seekers hanging around outside primary schools.
Look, I think you're right here. I think this is going to end up being weaponised by MPs.
No.
Yes.
I think you're completely wrong on that.
And let's remember that the instances of
the colour of the child isn't completely irrelevant.
No, it's going to be weaponised 100%. But
how?
But you've got to remember a knife was used in the murder in this drama. If we look at London, 53% of knife perpetrators are black in London. That is pure facts, yet they make up less than 10% of the population. So I think MPs would save more lives. Black-on-black crime is a real problem, violence in London. If MPs decided to give that as much airing as something like this, we could actually save lives and stop problems.
Well,
this is a very rare...
I would say it is very relevant that it is a white family. It's an extremely important part of the narrative. It is a classic, traditional, white working-class family.
I agree with that.
Stephen Graham plays a plumber. They have all of the sort of general social mores, cultural attitudes of a typical white working-class family. It is about the general plight of white working-class families, even if they're doing what they can to stick together. I mean, it starts, as you show, with a rather heavy-handed police raid. Quite what you need to do, why the police force need to act like that to pick up a 13-year-old boy, I'm not quite clear. There's a whole episode set in a school where it's commented that nobody's learning anything here, this is just a holding pen. So I think a lot of it is about how the institutions of Britain are letting down traditional white working-class British communities. That's what I took away from it. And I've got quite a big woke radar, right? I did not walk away from it thinking this is woke trash. I thought it was a pretty incisive social commentary about how regular traditional white working-class families are facing problems and difficulties and are generally let down by the institutions of Britain.
Yes, but if they'd done a drama, say, about a black family, and you're quite right about the statistics about knife crime, particularly in London.
I just want to save lives, Nina, and I think they could do if they highlighted
Well, who doesn't? But the thing is, if they had made a drama about a black kid stabbing another black kid because of what he'd seen online, or because he was part of a gang, that would not have been a surprising drama. Sadly, that would not have been a surprising drama.
I know what you mean.
It would have been. You would say, yes, but we know this. We know this. The point about the surprise about this drama, as you say, was the fact that it was a normal, loving family. There were two parents there, because you know normally would be a drama like, well, where's the male model?
Oh yeah.
Where's the male mentor? Where's the
Yeah.
Look, Patrick, there's a breakdown of morals in the younger generations now. We're seeing porn stars like Bonnie Blue have 1,000 young men turn up, you know, and a lot of the time, very few white boys in that. So there is a problem in many sort of communities with culture and behaviour. So we've got to tackle this. Yes, look, it's a great drama, but it's highlighting many sort of troubles.
Well, we're all agreed somebody should commission Patrick's drama series on the Clash.
Probably not going to be to direct it. That would be a car crash.
But the thing is, exposure to porn is... We're not...
everywhere.
Well, that's one of the key parts of the story,
obviously. But the thing is, as I said, 20 or 30 years ago, if a young boy wanted to see porn, he'd have to go to some cinema or other and pretend to be 18.
Yeah.
You couldn't...
But you're basically right, Patrick,
can't...
politically incorrect drama basically is not made. And that's a problem.
Well, they are drama. They are made.
Yeah, because for me, it's the power of it. You produce something, just to very quickly say the final thing on this, but you produce something as wonderfully made as what this is, as Adolescence, and it's so great that it gets people talking, it's gripping, it's somebody... And then it starts a narrative and it starts a conversation, it finds its way, and then these things have such a big power that they can affect change. I'm just thinking, if you did something similar that really emphasised the lack of safety on the streets, you know, how do women feel on public transport at the moment? Because of, all right, all men, but because, really, of a lot of foreign men in Britain. It's a big thing. You could do something similar on that and maybe affect change there as well. I don't know. I just don't think we'll ever get to see...
It's going to be weaponised, 100%.
I completely disagree with you. It will not come down to a white-black thing. It will not... Or white-Asian. It will not be that.
OK. All right. Well, look, hey, I've still got loads coming your way. I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into the front pages, which are hot off the press very, very shortly. But, of course, I do have to let you know about the latest Great British giveaway. Your chance to win £17,777 in our Spring Spectacular. Here's all the details you need.
Spring has sprung with a Great British giveaway, and we're giving you the chance to splash out this season with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Jet off on your dream holiday, treat yourself to something special, or just save it for a rainy day. You'll also receive 2 brand new designer watches and a Mulberry handbag, so you can really look the part this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, I've got some quite shocking breaking news to bring you. It's on the front of one of the newspapers. The government are now apparently on the verge of erasing biological sex from official data. So we'll talk about that shortly. And who do you think is in the wrong here?
How it feels to have it be out there.
It's gonna be great. You're a winner.
Oh my God! When I'm talking, you're not talking. No, when I'm talking, you're not talking.
Yeah, OK. First, though, the Met Police have decided to take no action against an East London imam who cursed Jews and called for the destruction of their homes. So, is this more blatant two-tier policing? Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
First of all, are we talking about the West and the East, or is this a Western phenomenon?
Wholly Western phenomenon, which excludes China, where things are still in a healthy state.
What's happening in the West, then?
It's been going on for quite a while, and it started with the universities and then affected the biennales conferences. Basically, it's this left drift and the sense that, as in Vogue, we should care about the downtrodden, the marginal groups, the global south. We should criticize what's going on, and there's a sense of illegitimacy with everything which now is developed in most of the real-world developments we are, for instance, doing, as being neoliberal architecture. And so the discourse is shifting away, ignoring that and saying this is fallen, this is commercial, this is compromised. And we have a discourse about another world caring and looking after those who have been discriminated against. And that pulls a discourse and critical debate away from what's going on. And therefore what's going on is bereft of critique, of exposure, of debate, and becomes a craft.
We are looking at, on the screen at the moment, at some of the great buildings that you have been involved in. So tell me about the background to these. I mean, you were one of the architects here. What was your education? What was your inspiration? What led you to create buildings that look like that?
So I was originally educated in Stuttgart, Germany. I came here as a student, went to the South Bank University in exchange program, and as a student joined Zaha Hadid, was a rising star in the field. And at that time, there was really a thriving discourse in architecture, grappling with this new world.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. Shortly, some newspaper front pages for you, and it appears some breaking news. Are the government trying to eradicate sex and gender entirely? But first, the Met Police have sparked fury over a decision not to charge an East London imam who cursed Jews and called for the destruction of their homes. In a sermon delivered shortly after Hamas's horrifying October 7th attacks, the preacher said, "O Allah, curse the Jews and the children of Israel. O Allah, curse the infidels and the polytheists. O Allah, break their words, shake their feet, disperse and tear apart their unity and ruin their houses and destroy their homes." Following an initial decision not to treat the sermon as a crime, the Met faced fierce backlash and agreed to review their stance. However, after further investigation and consultation with an unnamed academic expert, the Met concluded today that the sermon did not reach the threshold of a crime. Well, I'm joined now by the former editor of the Jewish Chronicle. It's Jake Wallace-Simmons. Thank you very much. Great to have you on the show.
Good evening,
so, is this two-tier justice, do you think? Is this naked anti-Semitism going unpunished? What's your view?
It seems like it, doesn't it? I mean, you know, it seems like a pretty open and shut case if you call for God to curse the Jews and tear apart their unity and ruin their houses and destroy their homes. That seems rather unpleasant. And given that the police are very fond of handing out non-crime hate incidents to people like Alison Pearson and others, it seems like they really should have taken a bit more action when it comes to this incident.
What do you think's gone on here? They say they've consulted some kind of unnamed academic expert. I mean, reading between the lines there, I suspect they've got someone to try to, I don't know, modernise the Quran or something and decide that actually didn't mean any offence by it at all.
I've no idea, to be honest. I mean, how expert do you need to be to look at this guy calling on God to destroy Jewish homes and come to the conclusion that he was not particularly being very fond towards the Jews? I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. But, you know, this is just another example of double standards towards the Jews and other minorities taken by the police. We've seen week after week the Gaza marches policed with kid gloves, while the far-right march, when it happened in the summer, the police waded in with their batons and riot shields and horses. So it's not any news, really, that the police are taking this double standards approach. But it is rather galling that they continue to knock on the doors of people who've said nasty things on social media and yet refuse to take any action at all against this imam.
I suppose the signal that this sends firstly, I imagine to the Jewish community is a negative one, but also to flip it on its head, I suppose it sends to people who do really want to say this stuff and who do actually really genuinely mean it, that they can say it in Britain and they can get away with it.
That's right. And also it's important to note that, I mean, the Jewish Chronicle reported this story from the beginning, and we discovered that the mosque in which he preached is not far from a Jewish community and synagogues. So it's not like it happened in a vacuum. It happened in a local community with Jews nearby, and he was calling for God to destroy their homes. So, yeah, I mean, it does send a bad and dangerous signal to the Jews, but like you say, an even worse and more worrying signal to other radical imams thinking that they can get away with it too.
It's interesting, actually. It ties in a little bit, I mean, slightly different topic, of course, to what we were just talking about, which is this idea that people, especially young people, are capable of seeing things online and then going out and behaving in a monstrous fashion. That, of course, was in the context of, quotes-unquote, toxic masculinity, what we were talking about before. But these people, for example, this particular imam here, appears to be playing quite fast and loose with the influence that his words may have. Someone could take that literally. There may well be a recording of this that is beamed out online to an audience of who knows what. And someone takes it literally and acts on it. And for the life of me, I can't understand why that's not a crime.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, I think at least the police could have knocked on his door. They knocked on Alison Pearson's door. I mean, surely they should knock on the door of a guy who wants God to destroy the houses of the Jews and say, look, mate, tone it down because there are some impressionable young men around. This was 2 weeks after October the 7th, so tempers were high. There was numerous anti-Semitic attacks all over the world and in London and Britain, of course. So in those febrile moments, he chose to make this sermon calling for destruction of Jewish houses. I mean, the police surely have got to give him at least a bit of a warning.
Do you think that one of the barriers here, and it's a very uncomfortable thing to talk about, and I am not saying that the police, or anyone really, should be going around and knocking on the door of every single mosque in the country and seeing what's being said in there and all of this stuff. I wouldn't want that for anywhere at all. But do you think that there is an additional fear here from the police force that if you had charged or arrested an imam of an East London mosque, that might have frankly kicked off?
I think that there is some concern about the community cohesion, which the police call it, and they look at the Gaza marches in a similar way. They try to manage it and work collaboratively with the organisers, several of whom have past links with Hamas, by the way, so they don't inflame tensions. But I think that there's a certain point at which that just becomes appeasement. And you're sending the wrong message to people, saying, look, we're going to keep, you know, backing down, accommodating you, and allowing you to basically get away with murder. But also, I think the broader point is that the police crack down so hard across the board on everybody else, but they do seem to allow certain people with certain objectionable views to get away with it. If it was all standardised, if they treated everybody the same, I think we wouldn't have so much of a problem. But they do seem to pick and choose which laws they apply and when.
Well, Jake, look, hey, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to see you and to speak to you, so I hope to talk to you again very, very soon. It's Jake Wallace-Simmons there, former editor of the Jewish Chronicle. Well, we're going to hear from the Metropolitan Police now, because they've said this. 2 investigations have now found that in this case, the threshold for a hate crime offence was not met. We recognise that this will be frustrating to many, but we police to the letter of the law, and we must weigh the evidence against the legislation as it is, not as some may want it to be. It is for Parliament to determine where the line is drawn, not the police. Since October 2023, we've made more than 300 arrests for anti-Jewish hate crime offences. Where the evidence meets the threshold for us to take action, we absolutely will. Well, watch this space. Coming up, the very first of tomorrow's newspaper front pages and some astonishing breaking news this evening. It appears, anyway, that the government are on the verge of erasing biological sex from official data. What's really going on there, and who's in the wrong here?
How it feels to have it be out there.
It's gonna be great. You're a winner.
Oh my God, when I'm talking, you're not talking. No, when I'm talking, you're not talking.
I hate that. Anyway, I'll talk to you about that next.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst we're enjoying plenty of sunshine across the UK at the moment, it's a cool and blustery picture across the eastern Med, and we have stormy conditions out towards the west as well. So parts of Portugal and Spain really seeing some very unsettled weather with thunderstorms, heavy rain and strong winds over the next few days. Fine across most of Italy though, with some sunshine, and fairly decent across Greece and Turkey, but cool and blustery in those strong northwesterly winds. Temperatures are set to increase though over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're
the failure is...
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. Front pages here for you. The Metro, to start us off, stopped on massacre mission. Jailed killer who planned school killing spree. That is, of course, the jailing of Nicholas Prosper. The I paper, no new tax hikes next week, but future benefit cuts are now likely. The Independent, Putin drone attack makes mockery of Trump peace deal. This was after Putin has apparently bombed a power plant hours after basically saying he wouldn't do that. The Mirror, I'd do it all again. Hancock defends COVID VIP lane and PPE deals. I wonder if he'd do it all again.
Yeah.
You know? Would he do it all again?
There might be
every
a slight
little
nuance to
Or
his
would he put a
behaviour.
sock over that camera?
Yeah.
You know, maybe he'd have done that. Anyway, little matter.
What about that, the commission that his pub landlord got? Are we thinking about that too?
Do it all again.
Yes. Yeah. Well, he said he'd do it all again. I wonder how his wife feels about it. Or ex now. Anyway, whatever. The Daily Telegraph. Criminals free to pick their own gender. And the Daily Mail have done it the same story, but bigger, actually. Biological sex erased from official data. And this is what we're going to talk about now. So this is the breaking news tonight, that the government is apparently considering removing biological sex and gender from official data. What does all of this really mean, Mark, in theory?
Well, this is absolutely bananas, isn't it? Your biological sex is relevant in these areas. I mean, a couple of years ago, I had a scan on my back and I was asked a range of quite sensible questions. Did I have any shrapnel wounds? Because if I had metal inside... And then I was asked, is there any chance you might be pregnant?
Right.
I said, well, I'm not a qualified medical practitioner, but I'd say the chances are pretty slim.
Yeah.
But men and women, you know, behave differently, have different medical complaints. You're erasing this in the view that biological sex does not matter is lunacy. I have no idea what the government are thinking. I would imagine there's going to be a screeching U-turn.
Yeah,
on
well,
this,
you'd
right?
say that, don't you? But so this is a government-commissioned report found that biological sex had been erased from official data in the police, the NHS, and even the military.
Completely mad.
We're talking about a party that believe women could have penises, Patrick. Labour are away with the fairies with this gender nonsense. Now, you watch women's sex attack statistics will go through the roof because these perverted men are going to do these attacks and they're going to be put down as a woman. This is erasing women's rights, and it's very, very dangerous and something that I am shocked, but I'm not shocked.
You see, I find this really ridiculous. So there's two sides as far as I can see. So it's a government-commissioned report, which... So OK, you could say, well, Labour are finding this out, and maybe they're going to do something about it. But it's also like... People working behind the scenes, who presumably are not politicians, in the police force, in the NHS and in the military, have clearly been captured by LGBTQ plus ideology. I mean, this is the deep state, isn't it?
Well, the thing is, you know, facts are facts. And this, as you say, this seems to me bonkers. I cannot imagine that they will go through with this. It is idiotic. And by the way, that form that you had to fill out, I'm sure that's just a standard form that they give men and women. I'm not.
It may be. It's just quite bizarre.
Yeah, it is bizarre.
There were different. No, there were different. There were some questions which were specifically made.
Oh, right, OK.
Well, last night I did a story about, by the way, in America, sorry to interrupt you, Nina, but it's quite funny, actually, that pregnant women are now being asked if their unborn child is gay in New Jersey.
Oh, well, that is just lunacy beyond lunacy. That is absolutely idiotic. But I cannot imagine that they'll go through with it, because when it comes down to it, you know, facts are facts. And by the way, Adam, you know... The idea that just because this is a point that's being put forward, that suddenly women are going to be raped left, right and centre.
No,
you can't catastrophe.
It's that there will be more women rapists because male rapists will claim that they're of the female gender.
Yes, I understand that, but then the incidence of rape is not necessarily going to go up.
No, but the number of sexual assaults apparently conducted by women will. If you can choose your own gender.
Women currently can't because of the legal guidelines about what a rape
actually is.
A woman can't.
But women rape stats will.
This is interesting. So I'm just reading this in slightly more detail. It is breaking news, so we are picking through it together. But this was actually commissioned by Michelle Donnellan, who's the former Tory Science Secretary. This was under Rishi Sunak. So under Rishi Sunak, this was commissioned. The results are now in. So it's a question of whether or not Labour do anything about it, really. But this is another thing that... Ultimately, it's happened under the Tories. This is
absolutely.
This pervasive idea of DEI and LGBTQ plus, like fanaticism. The Tories allowed this stuff? I mean, they knackered Britain, didn't they?
I think you've got a very good point there. But you mentioned, I don't really use the term deep state, but I think what you've got is this...
Your mate does.
But this has infiltrated all of our institutions, right? And so I don't think this was because the 360-odd Tory MPs were desperate for this to happen. It was happening without them much knowing about it. You need to commission a report to get to the bottom of it, and then you need to issue a very clear instruction. If your biological sex is a relevant consideration in the statistics, which it would be for things like health and criminality and what prison you go to and the rest of it, it should be recorded, and it is an objective fact. It is not something that you self-identify about. That missive just needs to go out to every single state authority.
I can't imagine that this current government will go through. If it was commissioned under the Tories, they won't. I don't think they will go through with it. I really don't.
But it's happened. That's the point, isn't it?
Well, no, it's...
But why? This is it. So whatever percentage of the population that the trans community make up, you know, so I haven't got the exact figures right now, but it's a very small percentage. It's possibly not even a 1%. I don't think it is.
About 0.6% last time I read.
Well, there you go. Now, because of that, it seems that the police, the military and the entire National Health Service have stopped recording anyone's gender.
And at the detriment of women that are 51% of the population. This is the whole point. Trans rights cannot trample over women's rights. No, and as I said, women's rape statistics are going to go through the roof. Women can't rape, right, under the legal definition.
Yeah, we're going to
but
see...
now they will be able to under this.
We'll see more of those headlines on BBC News Online. You know, it's like woman rapes, whatever it is. And it's just a picture of a
6'4" woman,
a bloke in a frock with a full beard. You know. And anyway, right. Well, the government spokesperson said the department would consider the findings alongside the views of quote other interested parties. I wonder who they think they are, but they added. This government is clear that the collection of accurate and relevant data is vital in research and the operation of effective public services, particularly when it comes to sex. So we'll have to wait and see what
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying, that they're going to go, hopefully, the sensible route.
Hopefully.
You can't change sex. That's the main thing. You can't change.
Right, so now, look, hey, I've been teasing this clip. I mean, let's just have a look at this. So it's safe to say that the Hollywood actor Alec Baldwin has had a tough few years. He was charged and then cleared of involuntary manslaughter after a gun he was holding on a film set misfired. And it does not seem to be getting any easier now because his wife, Hilaria, totally humiliated him on the red carpet yesterday.
The Hilaria show.
No, I think we're gonna see. You know, we're gonna see how it feels to have it be out there.
It's gonna be great. You're a winner.
Oh my God! When I'm talking, you're not talking.
Sorry.
No, when I'm talking, you're not talking. This is why. Yes, we'll have to just cut him out of the show. No, no. I mean, I think this is a really raw show, and it's very real, and we took a lot of chances, and you know, I think that we'll see where it leads us. We'll see what it feels like to have it be out there, and then we'll see, you know, if people like it.
Oh, Nina.
She's a total piece of work, and at one point she pretended to be Spanish, I think, in the last couple of years, although she wasn't Spanish at all.
Weird.
He could not possibly lose his temper with her in public because of, you know, he's trying to redeem himself after the woman was shot. The woman was shot on set by him accidentally. But he in the past he's got a terrible temper. I read a book written by a Hollywood producer about working with him years ago, and he's not got a very good temper.
Well, I love how he walks off desperate to find anyone with a camera and a microphone willing to speak to him.
But she's also very bendy, and they've got 5 children.
Oh, God.
I wasn't expecting that, Nina. I haven't got time to...
If she speaks to him like that in public, how does she speak to him behind closed doors? That's the main thing.
Seems to have a measure of
If this was the other way round, that would be the discussion that would be happening.
It's a good point. Lots of good points. Not sure about the bendiness there, but hey. All right. So there's still loads more to come. Oh, yes, and of course, Friday night is fast approaching, so why not get yourselves right in here in this very studio. Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Evening, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Another chilly one tonight across the north, particularly so in Scotland, where there will be a frost, but generally elsewhere not as cold, and it is going to feel quite warm by the afternoon. This low pressure is going to mix things up for Friday and the weekend. But still, for most places, after a cracking day of spring sunshine, it's a dry and a clear night. A bit more clouds spilling north through the night over England and Wales, helping to keep the temperatures up. And there's some thicker cloud across the Northern Isles, maybe producing 1 or 2 showers. But most of Scotland staying dry and clear. That's where we will have a frost, down to freezing, even in towns and cities, and rural spots like last night could be well below. But most of England and Wales staying above freezing, maybe parts of northern England just dipping down to 0, and potential for a little bit of mist and fog here and there also. But any mist and fog should clear quite quickly on Thursday morning. Still a small chance of a shower in Shetland, a frosty start across the bulk of mainland Scotland, but a sunny start as well. A bit more clouds across parts of Northern Ireland and England and Wales, but very patchy in nature. Generally, it is going to be another fine day with plenty of spring sunshine. And not as cold as recent mornings, certainly across much of the south. Through the day, not a great deal of change. As I said, any fog should clear. There'll be some patchy cloud here and there, the very small chance of seeing an isolated light shower developing. The cloud thickening a little in the Western Isles as the breeze picks up here too, but most places with light winds feeling quite a bit warmer than recent times. Could easily reach 20, maybe 21 across the southeast, and even eastern coastal counties that have been quite chilly will be warmer than recent days. The breeze picks up a little here on Friday, and we start to see a change with cloud thickening and some showers for Northern Ireland, perhaps South Wales and southwest England too. But again, many other areas dry, and particularly Western Scotland looking pretty mild on Friday with temperatures in the high teens. Just feeling a bit cooler again on those eastern coasts. Bye for now.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Got to rattle through the rest of the front pages for you. Daily Express. Evil family killer forced to hear his fate. Common sense judge orders Nicholas Prosper to attend court.
Good.
For that whole life verdict. Yes, good. Want to see more of this, I think?
Absolutely. They should be made to face up to what they've done.
Drag him up to the dock. Right, The Guardian. Biggest cut since austerity era as Reeves tries to plug budget deficit. It's interesting, isn't it, how do Labour deal with the same headlines that the Tories were gave for 14 years?
The new nasty party.
The new nasty party. It's almost like there's one... Anyway.
Yeah.
The Sun, coked-up casualty star smashed into nurse. That's a headline, isn't it? But down the side of it, rush to net zero will lead to crash, is an exclusive by Harry Cole. Britain's headlong rush to net zero risk triggering financial meltdown.
Yeah, according to Harry Cole, this report says it will wipe 10% off GDP. You can have net zero or you can have economic growth, but you probably can't have both.
Wasn't this what Kemi Badenoch was banging on about?
Yeah, damn right. We've got to get off this. We've got to get off this mad march.
Who knew?
This is ludicrously expensive and does nothing to save us from global climate change.
And many of us over the last 5 years have been attacked for going against net zero and questioning it.
Yep.
Now we've been vilified, you know. So
No. This is just one story in the Sun, for heaven's sake, and something that Kemi Badenoch has said.
It's obvious.
Well, you say that, but you know, you have to aim for something. You have to aim to improve a situation.
Well, not at the expense of totally tanking your economy and having energy prices 4 times that of the USA.
Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying that's going to happen.
I'm more dependent on China, which is a problem, I think.
Yeah, they make all the parts. They'll help us with our economic suicide.
Yes. Well, there we go. Yeah, you might push us over the edge, actually, metaphorically. But anyway, right, OK, thank you very much, my wonderful panel. Sorry that last bit was so short and sweet. But headliners are up next. It's going to be a rip-roaring show. Fantastic show, as always. The best way to round off your evening. Please do have a little look if you can. Get down into my live studio audience on Friday. You can go to gbnews.com/tickets. It is a bit of a riot. It's well worth the trip, wherever you are coming from. I will be back with you tomorrow night at 9 p.m. for hopefully another rip-roaring edition of Patrick Christys Tonight. Whoever you are, wherever you are, take care. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Evening, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Another chilly one tonight across the north, particularly so in Scotland, where there will be a frost, but generally elsewhere not as cold, and it is going to feel quite warm by the afternoon. This low pressure is going to mix things up for Friday and the weekend. But still, for most places, after a cracking day of spring sunshine, it's a dry and a clear night. A bit more clouds spilling north through the night over England and Wales, helping to keep the temperatures up. And there's some thicker cloud across the Northern Isles, maybe producing 1 or 2 showers. But most of Scotland staying dry and clear. That's where we will have a frost, down to freezing, even in towns and cities, and rural spots like last night could be well below. But most of England and Wales staying above freezing, maybe parts of northern England just dipping down to 0, and potential for a little bit of mist and fog here and there also. But any mist and fog should clear quite quickly on Thursday morning. Still a small chance of a shower in Shetland, a frosty start across the bulk of mainland Scotland, but a sunny start as well. A bit more clouds across parts of Northern Ireland and England and Wales, but very patchy in nature. Generally, it is going to be another fine day with plenty of spring sunshine and not as cold as recent mornings, certainly across much of the south. Through the day, not a great deal of change. As I said, any fog should clear. There'll be some patchy cloud here and there, the very small chance of seeing an isolated light shower developing. The cloud thickening a little in the Western Isles as the breeze picks up here too, but most places with light winds feeling quite a bit warmer than recent times. Could easily reach 20, maybe 21 across the southeast, and even eastern coastal counties that have been quite chilly will be warmer than recent days. The breeze picks up a little here on Friday, and we start to see a change with cloud thickening and some showers for Northern Ireland, perhaps South Wales and southwest England too. But again, many other areas dry, and particularly western Scotland looking pretty mild on Friday with temperatures in the high teens. Just feeling a bit cooler again on those eastern coasts. Bye for now.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're giving you the chance to splash out this season with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Jet off on your dream holiday, treat yourself to something special, or just save it for a rainy day. You'll also receive 2 brand new designer watches and a Mulberry handbag, so you can really look the part this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
SpaceX latest Starship exploded over the Caribbean Sea.
I was wondering where it had gone.
Yeah, debris could be seen falling back to Earth moments after the Starship launched down from Boca Chica, Texas. The rocket, of course, was unmanned. This was the 8th test flight, and it was only